Welcome to Living a Full Life podcast. Join us as we explore health topics that encourage raising healthy children, living a healthy life, and living the best life possible. Now, here's your host.
Hey everyone, welcome to another podcast of Living a Full Life. Very special guest this week, Coach Constantin Wohlgemuth. He was my trainer a couple years ago, and we've stayed in contact since then. He's finally found a home here in the Tampa Bay area, and he does some great training. He sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger, so I really wanted him on my podcast to talk to all you guys. But today's topic is resistance training. It's the number one question I get when it comes to exercise. Hey, Dr. D, you've helped me lose weight. You've helped me get here. What's the next thing I need to do to really maintain my overall health? And there's no question it's resistance training. So Thanks for being on the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got here, and what you do for us here in Tampa.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's really good to get back to you, having some good conversations about fitness and health. I make it quick or short. So my name is Constantin Wohlgemuth. I come from Germany, so I moved to the Tampa Bay area 2.5 years ago. Fitness was always my thing since I was young. And I train almost now 20 years, do personal training, coaching 13, 14 years. So I live here with my wife. I met my wife here in the US for 7 years ago. We got married, so now we start a new life here. And now I just want to inspire other people, motivate other people to live a healthier life.
That's great, man. Yeah, it's been awesome knowing you and all that great stuff. So where was I going to go with this? Resistance training and your hand. I'll put all your handles in here later. You can find Konstantin on Instagram, Facebook. He's local here. He's got great information. He does great videos. But when we get to resistance training, there's beginners and then there's people who've been in the gym since they were a teenager, right? Mm-hmm. And the biggest mistake they do is they still think they're 19 years old. So they haven't worked out for 10 years. They go back to the gym and they think they can do 250 pounds on the bench press. So as a chiropractor, I try and teach them we have to start from square one again. Yes. So what's the best way to get back into resistance training for people that don't have 2 hours to go to the gym every single day?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing is first to find out, okay, what kind of injuries do I have, right? So I want to start there. How's my mobility, my flexibility? Do I have pain in certain movements when I do some exercises? What has to be more stabilized and mobilized? So first I want to check or make an analysis of your body and what your body is capable of, right? So it's not always about age. Somebody who can be older can be more mobile, maybe, and more stronger than somebody who's younger. It depends on how you treat your body, right? So I look always on where the person is coming from and what the goal is, right? So the best thing what everybody can do is first work on mobility, work on core, work on glute activation, just to connect muscle and mind first, and having small exercises with small muscle groups to stabilize the body, and then going into more advanced exercises, for example, squats, right? Or deadlifts. But this is something what is really not needed for everybody, because if you don't want to be a powerlifter, you don't want to be just strong, it's not really needed to do, right? So that's how I look to it,
Absolutely. And that's the value of having a great personal trainer, is knowing about injuries, knowing about how your body moves, doing a proper assessment. And you did that for me too. I had minimal stuff going on a little bit with my knees. So you noted that down, and we didn't do a lot of box jumps. You kept that out of the program because probably not the best thing for the knees. Mm-hmm. So that's really important too. So that's a great step. Once we know how to do functional movement and we go through the movements properly with lightweight, maybe resistance band or TRX bands, what's the next step for people to really maximize their time in the gym so they get the best benefits?
So, I mean, we know that a muscle recovery should be between 48, 72 hours to hit the muscle again, to stimulate the muscle for growth. So it always depends, of course, on volume, right? Intensity you have in your workout. So I like to do full body or lower and upper body workout plans that the person can still do 30, 45 minutes, right? For somebody who starts, if in this program is warm up, mobility, the strength part, and then cool down, right? So I would always go with 30, 45 minutes in the beginning, see how your body responds the next 1 or 2 days, and then progress from this.
Great. Yeah, that's a great tip there too. And then how long should people work out when they're in the gym? What's the magic number?
Yeah, I mean, I would keep it mostly short, between 45 and 60 minutes. Everything that really goes over is just
It's too much, right?
always beneficial.
You said a great number there, and there's a huge debate, but there's really no debate when you read the literature. It is 45 minutes. I mean, you can't get a proper workout in 15 minutes. People say you can, and I've been trying to, and I can't. It takes me 45 minutes to go through the proper muscle group to do 3 or 4 exercises if you're doing it correctly. So like you said, you need 2 days to 3 days for muscles to recoup. So there's 2 ways to think about this: repeat it every 3 days, the muscle groups, or split your week into 3 or 4 different muscle groups, right?
Yeah. I mean,
probably the best way. Once a week, hit the back, once a week, hit the chest, once a week, hit the shoulders, once a week, hit the legs.
No, if somebody like more advanced, for example, and can take more volume, right, because of more muscle mass, then of course you can have more volume because you have more muscle mass, you have more endurance, and so on. Somebody who like also natural, right? If you train natural, it's different than taking testosterone or any other substance, right? So it's important like to shock the muscle more often. So I recommend most of the people do a full body workout every 2 to 3 days, or an upper and lower body. For example, Monday lower, Tuesday upper, break, and then again. So you just have every second day or every third day the same muscle again, and changing exercise or repetition range, for example, and sets.
Repetition. Right. There you go. And then so your sets are 3 or 4 sets for each muscle group that you're working, and you pick 4 or 5. I think those are beginner type stuff that most people understand that listen to my podcast. So that's great. They're looking for more of the advanced, like how long should I budget? So 45-minute workouts 3 to 4 times a week. That's really, if you're looking, especially the guys that are listening to this, the men who are getting older, 30, 40, 50 years old, testosterone starts to go down. And if you're doing this naturally, the best thing to do to maintain your testosterone without doing replacement is resistance training. The literature shows this, that if you don't move and you don't do some heavy lifting, and your testosterone continues to go down. So from a health perspective, and this is important for women too, if you're trying to prevent osteoporosis, we need to be doing resistance training. It's way more important than cardio. Cardio has its place. Cardio has, of course, it's a great workout as well, but cardio has its place.
So cardio is like, I mean, a lot of people really start like doing cardio first or starting running, right? If your body's not even prepared for running because of your joints, your ankles, your knees, you'll put a lot of pressure on your joints. And after a couple of days or maybe weeks, it starts really hurting bad, and you just make it more worse, and you fall back. So you have to strengthen your body first, prepare your body for movement, right? So that's why strength training always number one, whatever you do, it's number one. And the cardio part is also something. If I do short interval training, or I keep my breaks between my sets shorter, my heart rate is automatically up or higher. So I can even train my heart, right, for more cardiovascularity, or like even to reduce the risk of any kind of disease I can get, just of keeping a heart rate a little bit more up. Doesn't mean you have to do HIIT training, but like just keep it up a little bit and take a walk,
Walk. Yeah. Maybe walk on the treadmill. That's a great cardiovascular workout over a longer period of time. These people, a lot of studies show that if you run or have high intensity for more than 12, 15 minutes, you actually start to spike your cortisol, which can lead to other issues. So anyway, we're talking about resistance training today. So what about, what do you see with your clients that you start on? Because you work with them for a long time. Once you work with them, you're working with them for a long period of time because they have goals that they're trying to get to. Usually it's probably body mass composition goals that they're using. You like to measure. You were never a big fan of pictures and machines and all that. You said we measure, and then we know if we're getting results. What's the number one thing that you tell them to be patient with and with results? How long does it usually take?
I mean, it's all about consistency and discipline, right? So if you have a goal, it's always a long-term thing, because I mean, we all want to look like good as quick as possible, right? But if we are patient and we lose like 1-2 pounds a week, for example, right? And we add this on over like 3 months, for example, we can lose 10-12 pounds like in a healthy way, because we want to make sure we don't lose muscle mass, right? And to even maintain the muscle mass in a certain kind of age, is difficult, especially with people who start like doing a crash diet or like eat not enough, or just eat some vegetables, right, and protein, and don't have enough energy coming into the body, but they do a lot activity wise. Then building this muscle mass up you have lost is almost impossible in a certain kind of age to bring this back in if you don't do the right nutrition and the right training, you know.
Yes.
So that's why I say you have to be patient. You need to have at least 3 months of a commitment to get started. But everything is a long-term thing. Once you have reached, even if you just lost 3, 4, or 5 pounds in 3 months, it doesn't matter. You lost 4 or 5 pounds, but imagine 3 months later or 6 months later, another 5 pounds. So you add this up and you go slowly through the progress, but you don't fall back, right? So you always have to measure this and see, okay, where I'm at, and it goes like baby steps. If my goal is to lose 20 pounds, I take the first 5 pounds from 20 and say, okay, now first 5 pounds, then next 5 pounds. So divide it instead of having this huge number in front of you.
Right.
You know?
Small goals to get to your big goals. Like, let's just lose the first 5.
Yes.
Is it possible to gain lean muscle while losing fat? Is it at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, because if I start resistance training, my body has to adjust to the intensity. My muscle still has to grow. Somebody who starts working out and is like in a deficit, maybe is on a diet, right? There's still a possibility that you can build muscles. The longer you train, the harder it gets for you to build muscles, right? Because you already reach like a potential naturally what you can build on muscle mass, right? But it is possible, to build muscles during the diet.
Great. And I'm glad you said that, because it is true. And once you get to that resistance of, it's called adaptability, where your muscle now it's harder to gain more lean muscle mass. But as you're doing that, you're improving your metabolism. And at that point is where you start to efficiently burn fat better.
Yes, better.
So you have patience and consistency. That was perfect. Great work. That's good. See, he's a doctor too. You guys didn't know that. Good job. And then, of course, all the hormonal benefits and all that. I'll get into that in a different podcast. But for people that have different goals, what are the biggest questions that you get from your clients when they come in? What's the biggest obstacles that they have when they start working with you?
I mean, the biggest thing is like, a lot of people are in pain, even if it's just like a little bit, right? If it's neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, and so on. A lot of people just want to have this fixed or like get out of pain. And I think this kind of weight loss thing comes secondary. What is coming with the progress or process of getting out of pain and getting more in shape. So for most of them, it's the nutrition part of the thing, like the habits they have, the weekends they have, stress, a lot of work, and so on. So it's really important to be persistent or like accountable to yourself, right? To make notes, to write down what you eat, to just keep yourself consistent with doing the things every day. Because if you just track your food 3 days a week or 4 times a week, for example, what are you doing the other days, and then you don't know. So, and then you don't get anywhere. So the harder thing is like for most of people to be consistent with tracking food, or just even having like a diary, like writing things down, right? If it's workout wise, I always say like, you should have at least 3-4 times a week a workout, and the other days just take a walk, for example, right? So I think the biggest problem is really, how I said, getting out of pain, and how to get out of pain, and how to bring this in their daily life and the habits they have, to change the habits with everything what is going on in their life, especially when you have kids,
Right. Absolutely. It's tough to squeeze these things in, but you got to make health your priority. If you're going to make this work, it's got to be consistent. It's got to be all the time. So with people with pain, I deal with that all the time. Usually they're doing some type of therapy first to get back to the gym, but movement can be therapeutic when you're under the right supervision. So proper movement, it doesn't mean you have to stop with the gym. It doesn't mean you have to stop exercising. You can modify, you can adapt, and you can change your workouts around the pain, because that can be therapeutic in its own way as well. So never do I tell people to ever stop everything. It's just modify, because they have to keep moving, because healing can take 1 week. It can take 3 months. It can take a long time to heal from things. And if we stop working out for 3 months, it can cause more problems.
Yes, that's correct. That's why I like to put in my programs, or when I train people, always mobility, and then focus on areas they have to focus on, where they have movement restrictions, and then strengthen the joints or the hips or core, like everything what has to be stabilized. And this joints is something what always is in my programs, and then the strength part. So it's always important to keep the body healthy and mobile, especially when you get older, right?
For sure. Especially, I mean, we have to move more the older we get, and usually it's the opposite. We start to move less. So really, really important to do all that. I'll tag Konstantin and all the things here. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Resistance training is so important. I think we were gentle today in the podcast, but we could get very loud and tell people, listen, if you don't do resistance, you're just setting yourself up for failure later. You only have one body, and you got to take care of it. It's got to be as strong as it possibly can. Don't have to be, like you said, powerlifting. We were not here to compete for the Olympics. We're here to just keep our body healthy and to challenge ourselves a little bit. And as you progress, and it gets fun, it gets addictive. The gym can become part of your life. It can become something that you thoroughly enjoy. So reach out to Konstantin. He loves questions on Instagram and Facebook, and follow his content. He's got great tips, and he's local right here. And if you're anywhere, I'm sure, more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Great. Thanks, my friend.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Living a Full Life podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.